I have a question for you. How long are you going to run away from God? How long are you going to try to appease him with partial obedience? Giving him just a little bit of yourself and hoping that will suffice. But the thing about that is that God doesn't want just a part of you. He wants all of you. He needs all of you for what he's planning to work. He needs all of you. A little bit of you won't suffice. Partial obedience won't suffice. Giving God yes in some areas and no in other areas. Oh my God, you're just robbing yourself. You're just robbing yourself. And you know who else you're robbing? You're robbing everybody that's attached to what's inside of you that God wants to bring forth out into the world. You're robbing people. You're robbing you. And you don't want God to have to do a quick work. If you ever do give him your yes, but how long is it going to be before you give your yes? How long? A few months? A few years? You intended to give it to him last month. You intended to give it to him in 2020. You intended to give it to him in the past. You said you would give him all, but you reneged on what you said you would do. So how long before you give God your yes and be willing to let go of the world? How long is it going to take for you to let go of the world? Because there are people attached to the word that's in your belly. So how long is it going to take before you give God your yes? Because until then, you're going to be stagnant. Until then, you are stuck like glue. Until then, you can play with yourself and you can pretend all day that you can make progress without giving God your full yes. But as somebody who knows what it is not to give God your full yes and has had to see the repercussions of not giving God my full yes, let me save you pain and heartache and consequences of your actions by telling you, give him your yes now. Give him your yes now. The world ain't going nowhere. And you don't need it for where you're going. Let it go. Yes, there's going to be some sacrifice. It's worth it. Let it go. Give God your yes. So what if they leave you? If they leave you, they weren't meant to be there in the first place. If they leave you, they're not meant for the next season. And guess what? You can't take everybody. In fact, you can't take most of them. They are not interested in where you're going. But God is calling you. Are you going to go? Will you give God your yes? How long are you going to make him wait? Because you do know that when you make him wait, it's like a domino effect. It affects a lot of things. It affects some of those promises he promised you. It affects some of those things you desire that are caught up in the places and spaces God is trying to send you to, but you stuck and stagnant back here because you haven't given God your yes. And so you in an old season and God is way over there waiting on you to just start walking it out. Don't despise small beginnings. We all got to start somewhere. Just start with giving him your yes. And if you do not know how to do that, if you don't know how to break free from some things that are holding you back, from weights, chains, right? Things we get ourselves tied into. If you don't know how, run to his feet. Run to his feet. I once heard a preacher of God say something and it changed my life. And I remember she gave an analogy. It wasn't really that it was a true thing she had to do, but it was spiritual. And she talked about the fact that she was stuck in certain sins that were holding her from moving forward in God. How many of you know holiness is still right? And I'm non-denomination, but I'll be the first one to tell you holiness is still right. The word tells us to be holy, right? And so in order for you to move forward, you're going to have to make the decision to let it go, follow Christ, and allow him to transform you. Allow him to transform you. And she said something that changed my life, because at that time I myself was stuck and couldn't see a way out. And she said, you got to chain yourself to God's cup, because when you stuck in chains and you still going back and forth in the sin, you can't seem to break free. Even though God's salvation made us free, right? You have to access that freedom though, right? And you'll be stuck in those chains to the enemy, and you got to unchain yourself with the freedom God is giving you and chain yourself to the cup. Chain yourself to the blood of Christ. Chain yourself to the vine. Chain yourself to what's in that cup and abide in him. Abide in him. Believe and accept the covenant of Christ. Accept the contract that he died for you. And make the decision that no matter what it takes, I'm giving God my yes. And I'm going to do what he asked me to do, which is to carry my cross. And I'm going to be honest with you. At the end of that walk with your cross is death. It's death. Dying to yourself, mortifying your flesh. But guess what? Once you start to walk by faith and you believe that God is the God of the universe, and surely if he created all of the galaxies and he created the earth and the stars and he created the sun and other planets, surely he can help me get over the things it is that I'm attached to and I don't want to let go. That's a menial task for him. All you got to do is walk it out by faith, because Jesus already died for the things that you're struggling with. You just got to make the decision in your mind to let it go. That you don't want it anymore. That you want God more than everything else. That you want God to sit on the throne of your heart. That you don't want no other idols on your heart no more. That you ready to let go of the club. That you ready to let go of smoking and drinking. That you ready to let go of sex and pornography. That you ready to let go of distractions. And if he's calling you off of social media, get off. Whatever it is he's asking you to do, give it to him. Give it to him. Because in the end, I'm telling you, you will wish you would have just gave it to him so that you can have access to all the things God has for you. Because otherwise, guess what? When you give God your no, you think you're getting your best, but really you're getting your worst, and the enemy is robbing you of all God has. So make a decision to give him your yes today. And stop playing. Stop playing. Stop playing with your life. Stop playing with other people's lives. Stop playing and make a decision today.